Hey, Wanderers, how are you? If you've ever sailed out of Florida at any of the big cruise ports down there, Everglades, Canaveral, or Miami, you know that there's only a few options to fly in unless you want a long drive. Well, we're about to tell you about a third option that was recently discovered and how it could make your time going to two of those cruise ports a lot easier. But before we get started, if we haven't met before, I am Steve.
And I'm Laura.
And we are the Wandering Empty Nesters. Do us a favor and click like and subscribe both on Facebook and YouTube. Help us out with those algorithms so everyone can see our content, and we'd really appreciate that. So back in December, the end of or actually the middle, I guess, of our month-long tour, we took a cruise on Royal Caribbean out of Miami, and that's coming out soon. Now, a lot of people don't like to fly into Miami when they cruise out of there. It can be a little bit more expensive, but and it's bigger, so it's a little bit
Yes,
harder to get around. But there, the opposite of that is there's more flights available, right? The other option that most people do that we've done, and most of the people we've recommended to, you go down to Fort Lauderdale. And from Fort Lauderdale down to Miami is only about a 30-minute drive. It's easy to get transportation from there.
but you have to Uber, taxi,
You
and
have to
that's
Uber,
expensive.
private taxi. Yeah, I mean, it's 30 minutes, so it's not a tremendous amount of miles, but it can be a little costly. But it's usually cheaper to fly into Fort Lauderdale. Of course, if you always want to fly in the night before the cruise, hotels up there are definitely a lot less expensive than staying down in South Miami. So there's a lot of advantages for going out of Fort Lauderdale. So a lot of people have over the years. The other two options, of course, are Tampa, or you can do some of that. There are some smaller East Coasts, so you can go to Palm Beach or some others. But again, much more limited schedules even than Fort Lauderdale. Tampa Airport and Orlando are the other two big ones. Tampa has its, that's close to Port Canaveral, and if you're going out of some of the cruises that take that, Carnival being one of the bigger ones, you exclusively do that, but you wouldn't really go to Tampa to go to anywhere else. Orlando is really, one of the larger airports there. It handles all that traffic for Disney and that, but it's
Crazy.
super expensive to try to get from there even over to Fort Lauderdale. But that all changed. Brightline is a high-speed train that services right now the eastern side, the East Coast side of Florida, from Orlando all the way down the East Coast to Miami. And so we decided we would give that a test and see what it was like to fly into Orlando and go down to Miami to take our cruise. Now, we flew into Miami to Fort Lauderdale the day before, which is what we should. And we risk it a little bit, on the day of taking the train down, not really knowing, what would happen. And trains can be delayed, especially a train that goes through an urban area. There could be a problem with a crossing.
We gave ourselves good time.
Well, it is a 3-hour trip.
Right.
It's a 3-hour trip, and we did leave early in the morning. I think our train left at 9:00, and we just had to be down in Miami by like 1. So plenty of time, but lots of things can go wrong. Nothing did go wrong, spoiler alert, and we're going to talk about how easy it was. So landing in Orlando, we went to our hotel, and then we came back because the train terminal is right at the airport, and it's really, really easy to access. If you were to fly in and go right to the train, if you've been to Orlando before, they have those trams that go from the concourses into the main hub, and then you can go out to the parking area. Well, that train will take you to all the, different hubs. And there's also, the train station is listed right on it, Brightline station, right on it. So you can actually stay on that train and go all the way out to the Brightline station. And then you just go up the giant escalator and you are right there. Very modern. We're going to see it here in a second. It was really, really nice. Now, worked very well the opposite way too. So we went to the hotel, free shuttle back and forth from there. And it brought us back, just dropped us off at terminal, I believe it was C or B. You could do both. And I think that I want to say, maybe if I remember right, the bus driver said, you're going to be better off if you get off here at, I think it was B.
Yeah.
Then you just walk in the terminal, get on the train, and you just take it over because it stops right there. And you just go up the escalator and then there you are. And so that's what we did. And so that was really nice. So there's a couple of different ways that you can take it. We wound up getting the premium section, and that includes all meals. And, you get a couple of meals, you get some drink service. And that was really nice.
More than on an airplane.
Kind of the way airplanes used to be, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of service, really nice
not
seats.
Just like snacks. I mean, there were meals.
Yeah, and we were there for a breakfast and a lunch service. And I've seen some videos in that of their dinner service, and it can even be more like hot meals and things like that.
Yeah.
So they don't really skimp out on that. And there's snacks that you can get. There's snacks for purchase and meals for purchase back in the economy sections. This ticket normally runs, there could be discount coupons available.
Still cheaper than a plane ticket.
Still cheaper than a plane ticket to Miami when you even tack it on. So we paid $84 with a discount. That particular time period normally ran, I believe, 120. Of course, we can book this for you because it is part of the service that we can offer. And, it just was a very comfortable ride. Even if you get a private car service, that can sometimes, you're in a car, you're in traffic, and if you're not a good vehicle rider,
And they're not going to feed me.
they are
They're
not.
not going to give me
Well,
drinks.
even Uber, the Ubers used to have water and snacks, and they don't even really have that anymore.
Wow.
So let's take a look here. This looks like this is the premium lounge we're going to start out in. There you've already got your seat settled. So the premium lounge is separate from the economy lounge area. We'll see that your pass gets you through those gates right there. And then this is very much like a lounge at any airport, except for this: wine bottles and beer on tap. That was amazing. Now it was too early that we did not even partake in that. But then we go around here and lots of space. You've got all this. This is all included in your ticket. This separate area. You get to board first, of course, as well. And then you also have hot food. So we have some waffles and pancakes, and they keep this pretty freshly rolling.
Bacon.
Who doesn't like free bacon? Hard-boiled eggs was an interesting choice. I guess it just lasts longer. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Got some fruit, cereals, yogurts. You got pastries we saw on the other side. So great selection, something to eat just about for anybody. But, and this is the Orlando station, and it's pretty new. I'll show you out here. They have some packaged items that you could purchase as well. So if you buy an economy ticket, you can still purchase some stuff for breakfast and to take with you. So both Orlando and Miami are the two newest stations, and they're very much similar, although Miami is much larger, but they both have this Mary Mary bar. So again, like an airport, right? No matter what time of the day or morning, the bar is open and people are already there. They were making coffees, though, as well. They had an espresso machine there. The Wi-Fi here is fast and free. And on the train, the entire way, it was fast and free. That was pretty nice. So, it wasn't real crowded, but a really comfortable lounge area when you consider this to be like the gate area at an airport and what that can be like. It's not always very comfortable. There's no electronic hookups sometimes. And if they are, they're broken. But, this will, even in the economy area, look very comfortable. Now, they did have a security area that you had to go through, and that was just passing your bag through the scanner. And, it wasn't really any more difficult than TSA. There's the packaged things that they have. And then socks, that's just a thing. Everybody, when we went to that place in Gatlinburg that only sold socks.
Cute socks.
So, the bar here is pretty nice. And you've got some, little couch areas and places people can sit and relax. This did get a little bit busier. We were here. This is about an hour before departure. So we just wanted to see what it was like. And then if you have a premium ticket, which is you see right here next to the departure gates, because you're going to be the first ones to go on. You go over and you take your QR code that's a part of your ticket from your phone, and you just scan that. And if you're allowed in, it's going to open the gate for you. And lots of little pods not to sit in. Then when it's time to board, you're the first one allowed. You go down the escalator. You're on the platform right there at the train. We're going to go up to the first car that we're on. Now we're in the premium car, and I think we're actually in car 2, not the very first car, but I think the first 3 cars are premium, and then you go into economy. Really large leather-like seats. They tilted back. That was nice. There's spots for your luggage. There is racks if you have roller bags, as we do, and then also above storage. There was place under the seat. Now, one difference between the premium and the economy on the windows is that Brightline puts advertisements over the windows. So you get that little dot thing you got to look through. But up here in premium, you get to see it. So leaving, before we got to the populated areas, we hit 110 miles an hour. And we're doing 99 right here. And it didn't feel like it at all.
No.
Not at all.
If you hadn't shown me on the phone, I would not have thought we were going that fast.
Smooth as could be. And it's a really nice, this is the great thing about
trains. You look
trains.
at the scenery, it doesn't even feel like you're going that fast, right?
No, it doesn't. And this is the great thing I love about trains is, you're getting to watch that scenery go by. You're getting to see things. And then first service came. So, I get a coffee and Bailey's, but you weren't quite ready yet.
No.
Now, they do have the reverse seating, and we talked about that when we sat down.
Nice.
And this is the second service, and it's wine time. So you should have taken that coffee, right?
Right.
How did riding backwards affect you? Did it bother you at all?
Not at all. But I don't have any motion sickness,
And
so
then now we
you would
have
have to know yourself.
the breakfast service. We got some yogurt, a muffin, it's just a wide variety. The seats, good size. Now they have them where you can sit in quads, and we selected these seats before. The bathroom was huge and
Yeah.
clean. I was very impressed by this. And then this is what coach looks like. It's not that different. Seats are smaller.
No, I mean, you don't have a table, but the seats still look
They
nice.
still look nice, and they don't get as much service, but
Right.
we had a little thing right there where we had a power right in our table. I like
Mhm.
that a lot. And if you sat in the four-seater, you got the same kind of a thing. You got a table in the middle, the same side as say of chairs. You pre-select these when you book. Now, if it's general, you just pick whatever seat's available. So that's nice too, that you know where you're going to sit. You pick where you want to be on the train. I like that a lot. It's just nice scenery watching it go by. I enjoyed this whole part of the trip.
Now
Um,
you do not wanna get off at each stop because it doesn't stop for very long.
Yeah, that's a great point. So if you're familiar with Amtrak, you might be saying, well, hey, I get to, some of these stops, you can sometimes get off and kind of see things. You don't want to wander far, but I can see things. And
Yeah,
you don't want to do that
it
here because they
stopped
make,
about 5
yeah,
minutes
5 minutes.
each stop, and that was
I
all.
think there was a total of three or four different stops. Fort Lauderdale, I think Palm Beach was one, so there was just little bitty breaks and people got on and off, but
Mhm.
you don't want to try and go out and like see what it's like or see what the station. The other stations also were not very large. When we got to Miami, it was quite large, a little bit larger even than Orlando. It actually had a food court, not just packaged meals, but a food court with different restaurants where you could go, as well as the bar
Yeah.
in the general area. And what was nice, so when we arrived at the station there, down the escalator, real quickly, you're able to get outside. And I did like it because it rains in Miami, it storms sometimes, and it had an overhang, right?
Mm.
And we
Taxi
called up
stands
a
were
taxi
closed.
stand. We got an Uber that came right up underneath
Right.
there, and we were 10 minutes maybe from
The
maybe about
port.
10 blocks actually from the port, because
Yeah.
there was a CVS on the way, and we asked them to stop. That is the great thing, folks. If you at the last leg of your journey, if you get an Uber or something, it costs us about $20, and then we tipped them, of course, and took us right up to the opening of where we were getting out for the cruise to embark. But you can get the little stops in there. You're like, oh, I forgot this, because so you can't take large things of sunscreen through TSA, right?
Because we were doing carry-on.
And you don't want to buy that on board because it costs like $20 a can.
More than that. It's $20 a can in the store.
Okay. So we stopped at CVS and you grabbed our sunscreen between the airport and so we saved a good deal of money there and we're able to get it. Couldn't take it back.
No, we had to leave it.
So we bought a little too much, but that's okay. And even with that involved, it took us maybe total 20 minutes with the stop to get from there, to the cruise port. It was a really
Right on
smooth,
the ship.
super smooth. And these are ports, and if you look at most of these Florida ports, they're commercial ports as well. It's not like you can walk there. It's usually way long road, including a bridge and maybe an overpass. I'm thinking about how Port Everglades is, and Port Miami's the exact same way. There's just no way that you could really walk there. A lot of people think, well, I'll just stay in the hotel and I'll walk there, especially if you stayed at maybe a European port or something like that. That's pretty common that you can sometimes walk to the port. This is not one of those
Mm-mm.
places. And so you really do need to either arrange a shuttle or an Uber. And what I really loved about this is that it was a really smooth transition. Wasn't, you know, anytime you have to be somewhere at a deadline, it can be a stressful day. And it helps to just be able to sit back and relax and just have someone get you there. It just makes it better.
Mhm.
Now, if you're not fighting, with the traffic, it's even better, because even if you're not driving and your driver's stuck in traffic, because even embarkation day can be really, really hectic.
Yes.
And so long lines. We experienced that last time we went out of Fort Lauderdale. We went to Port Everglades and it was backed up a lot. I think we waited in line for our Uber to get further forward so we could get out. And
Yeah.
then, I remember the traffic officer was kind of yelling at our Uber driver, and she's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm here, I'm there. And so, it's just stressful. I just thought this was for all the things that could go wrong,
Yeah.
having never done it before. I was really impressed by the smoothness. Not to say that there isn't going to be a hitch somewhere along the line, but if you leave yourself enough time, you'll be good. So, what does this do? What does this do if you're a traveler? Well, it gives you a third option. It gives you another option to say, "Hey, these flights don't meet my times," because we've talked before, and we're going to talk again here soon about what's the best way to book a trip. And I've said before, I'm not a big loyalty guy, because it's more about when can you get me there, and second maybe
Especially
is how
not
much does it cost.
anymore.
Right, loyalty doesn't mean as much to me anymore
Mhm.
because they've diluted it. There's not as much value, but with that you can say, "Hey, I'm going to take this airline into," and this is exactly what we did. This airline into Fort Lauderdale, take the train down to Miami. Great, easy, smooth. And then when I come back, I'm going to take the cruise transportation because embarkation day finding your ride can be fun because we've done that a few times too. And we'll just, let them take us back up to Fort Lauderdale and get on a different airline and go where we want to go. And you do that because different airlines, there's so many more schedules that you can match to what your itinerary is and what your timetable is, and you're not stuck on one particular airport and just whatever limitations they may offer. So I really think this is a great thing for travelers. If you have, if you're have the time and you just want to take a little bit of an added adventure on your trip. So we were able to get a train trip and a cruise trip all in one adventure, and that was
We
awesome.
did planes, trains,
Planes, trains,
automobiles,
and automobiles. That's
and cruise
awesome.
ship
Awesome.
in one
Right.
trip.
I mean, if you
Mm.
could have gotten a cruise ship in Chicago, then John Candy and Steve Martin might have added that to the movie.
Could've
But no, I mean, if that movie had been based in New York, they could have done it,
Yeah.
but not in Chicago. It's not a thing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know if you have ever traveled on the Brightline and what your experience was. Was it as smooth as ours was? And tell me if you are down that way and you do it all the time. Is it pretty smooth most of the time, or is there times that you should avoid and maybe take into consideration around your trip? And hey, if you're coming down, don't do it on this day or that day because it's usually really packed for these reasons. Or maybe there's a soccer game if my FC Miami is playing, and maybe that just clogs up the Brightline. There's a lot of things locals know that we don't. So let us know in the
Yeah.
comments what you think. Watch for us next time. Please like and follow, and we'll see you again. Be wonder-worthy.
Thanks for spending a little time with us today. If you enjoyed this and want more insider tips, real travel stories, and deals that make your bucket list closer than you think, be sure to scan the QR code, hit subscribe, or follow. Why? Because every week we bring you ideas that save you money, inspire your next adventure, and show you how to travel smarter without the stress. Don't just dream about travel. Make it happen with us. Follow now so you never miss your next chance to wander worthy.